Stan.
Hi, I'm Gerri.
We're churchaholics.
Still.
Still.
Churchaholics for a while.
Yeah, it's a weekly meeting thing. We serve a church and lead a church that's addicted. Addicted to rules, addicted to rituals, addicted to traditions, and addicted to institutions. And by that we mean buildings, membership, and money. And we believe that we can learn a lot from the experts in overcoming addictions, many of whom are part of our community here in this church, the recovery community, and the 12-step programs that Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous use. And we're not alone in that belief. Many of the finest theologians in the world today believe that the most spiritual system in the world is the 12-step program. Catholics and Protestants. So we've been learning about that for the last several weeks. We learned that we need to keep the main thing the main thing. Keep our focus on what a church is supposed to be and do. And the main thing for the church, the United Methodist Church, and we believe for the entire Church of Christ, is to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. That's how we say the Great Commission that Jesus gave to each of us. By the way, the Great Commission is in every gospel, not just Matthew, it's just worded different. We also learned that we can't go it alone. In the AA programs, everyone has a sponsor. Everyone has a mentor. Every Christian needs a mentor. Every Christian needs to mentor another Christian less experienced in the faith. By the way, age isn't irrelevant. I was at camp with some kids who were finer Christians than many older folks that I know. That's what Jesus meant when he said, "Let the children come to me." Because if you want to get into the kingdom of heaven, you've got to come to me like these children. Really, that's what he meant. He did mean that.
Yeah. Really?
Really.
It's in the book.
When we do start to give up our addictions, we learn that there's a void created. Because they've taken a part of our heart and soul. We're truly addicted to something. We have to fill the void with something. Or you fill it with another addiction. We think you should fill the void with faith in God. Last week, we talked about a couple of the institutional addictions. Buildings and money. Buildings and money. Did you know Jesus said never go and build? Never said that. Not once. It was about 300 or 400 years before the first Christian church was built. They met in other people's places. They didn't own them. They met in homes. They met by the river. They met under trees. They met in Jewish synagogues. Buildings they didn't own. If you build it, they will come. That wasn't Jesus. That was Kevin Costner. Yet that's 1959 in the United States, isn't it? Everybody went to church. They just build it. They'll come. As Bishop Snazy said, If 1959 rolls around again, we are ready. We're ready. What do you think the chances of 59 rolling around again are? This week we're going to talk about another aspect that's so critical to the 12-step program, so critical to our recovery. Humility. Humility and the common good. Thousand years? No, 700 years before Jesus, there was a prophet named Micah. And Micah told the Jewish people, you're making it too complicated.
It's in the book.
Yeah. First he talks about, should I, sacrifice my children? Should I bring 1,000? What will make you happy, God? Just what will it take for you to return to Israel? God said, no, through Micah. No, he has told you, mortals, what is good in his sight. What else does the Eternal ask of you but to live justly and to love kindness and to walk with your true God in all humility? That's it. Don't make it complicated. Simple. Love others, work for justice, be humble before God. We make it too complicated. There's a Gaither song about that. It's not complicated. It's not complex. We just have to surrender. That's what that means, that walk humbly with God thing. It's God's will, not mine. That's all. But you got to say it and mean it. You got to actually give up your will to walk humbly with God. You got to let God be God. One of my favorite little cliches is, if God is your co-pilot, switch seats.
Walk humbly with God. Well, don't worry. They didn't get it back then, and we still don't completely get it now. And they didn't get it during Jesus' time, and they didn't get it after Jesus' death. The Apostle Paul spent a lot of time writing to the churches that were early churches just becoming established, teaching them how to be community, teaching them what church looks like. And he didn't mean the church building, the body of Christ. He wrote a lot of letters. And this one to the Philippians pretty much lines out how the body of Christ needs to be in relationship with one another if they are going to function in the community, which is the purpose of the body of Christ, to function in the community, to teach others what it looks like to follow Jesus. In Philippians 2, verses 1 through 8, Paul writes, if you find any comfort from being in Jesus, in his love, if that brings you encouragement, if you experience true companionship with the Spirit, and if his tenderness and mercy fill your hearts, then, brothers and sisters, there is one thing that would complete my joy. This is Paul's joy. Come together as one in mind and spirit and purpose, sharing in the same love. Remember, weeks ago we talked about being of one accord. not agreeing on how to get where we're going, but agreeing on the goal, agreeing on the purpose for being here. Paul says again, you need to come together for that. Don't let selfishness and painful, prideful agendas take over. Don't let selfishness or prideful agendas take over. Embrace true humility. Remember, humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less often. Embrace true humility and lift your head to extend love to others. Get beyond yourself and get beyond protecting your own interests. Be sincere and secure your neighbor's interests first. In other words, adopt the mindset of Jesus. Live with his attitude in your heart. Remember, though he was in the form of God, he chose not to cling to equality with God, but he poured himself out to fill a vessel brand new, in the form of a servant, a man, the very likeness of humanity. He humbled himself, obedient to death, a merciless death on the cross. So this selfless community lets nothing get in the way of their purpose. Lets nothing interfere with the main thing, which remember is to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. And that we can't transform anything until we're transformed. Transformed people transform the world. The needs of others come first. We have no personal motive. We get rid of our self-interest. And as Stan and the kids talked about, there are no stars. There are no superstars. There is no ruling class. We are all the same. Whether we're chairman of the board or the janitor, we are all equal in the body and in the eyes of God. Doesn't matter how old we are or how young we are. And because this was a common theme and people needed to hear it over and over, Paul also wrote to the Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, which precedes, of course, chapter 13, which we know as the love chapter. And we mistakenly translate that specifically for marriage ceremonies, for weddings. But if you take it in context, it's good for that. But it's good for everything. Love changes everything. So, 1 Corinthians chapter 12, beginning at verse 12. Talking about the body of Christ and how we function together. And this is probably a little bit familiar to most of you. Just as a body is one whole made up of many different parts, and all the different parts comprise the one body, so it is with the body of Christ. We were all ceremonially washed through baptism, together in one body by one Spirit. No matter our heritage, Jew or Greek, insider or outsider. Think about that today. No matter our heritage, Asian, African American, Hispanic, European, black, white, brown, yellow, Republican, Democrat, socialist, capitalist, Tea Party. Doesn't matter. We're one body. No matter our heritage, no matter our status, employed, unemployed, rich, poor, oppressed or free, we were all given one spirit to drink. Here's what I mean. The body is made not of one large part, but of many different parts. Would it seem right for the foot to cry, "I am not a hand, so I couldn't be part of the body"? Even if it did, it wouldn't be any less joined to the body. And what about an ear? If an ear started to whine, "I'm not an eye, I shouldn't be attached to the body." In all its pouting, it's still part of the body. Imagine the entire body as an eye. How would a giant eye be able to hear? And if the entire body were an ear, how would an ear be able to smell? This is where God comes in. This is where God comes in. God has meticulously put this body together. He placed each part in exactly the right place to perform the exact function that God wanted. You are gifted how God intended to gift you, not the gift you want. Oh God, if I had the gift I want, I'd be singing this sermon. You're all really lucky that.
Thank God.
You heard me sing.
Ditto.
If all members were a single part, where would the body be? So now, many members function within the one body. The eye cannot wail at the hand, "I have no need for you." It is actually the opposite. The members who seem to have the weaker function are necessary to keep the body moving. The members who seem to have the weakest function are necessary to keep the body moving. The body parts that seem less important, we treat as some of the most valuable. And those unfit, untamed, unpresentable members, we treat with even greater modesty. That's something the more presentable members don't need. But God designed the body in such a way that greater significance is given to the seemingly insignificant parts. Think of the parts of your own body that you don't really like to think about, and how bad off we would be if those didn't function correctly. And when they don't function correctly, we are in bad shape. That way, there should be no division in the body. Instead, all the parts mutually depend on care for one another. If one part is suffering, all members suffer. If one member is honored, then all celebrate alongside of it. You are the body of Christ. Each and every one is a valid member. God has appointed gifts in this group. Some are prophets, some are teachers, some are miracle workers, helpers, administrators, and some speak in various languages and others interpret. All are gifted. Are all prophets? No. Are all teachers? No. Do all work miracles? Of course not. Do all speak or interpret unknown languages? No. But Paul says, pursue the greater gift. And the greater gift is love. Verse 31, the greater gift is love. every person cherished and respected for who they are, for who God made them to be. No judgment, no competition, no comparison. Respect built on mutual appreciation and accountability. Ezra Benson says this: pride is concerned with who is right. Humility is concerned with what is right. Walk humbly with God. Think less of yourself. Think less often of yourself than you think of others.
So I invite you to look around. Look around. Can you see Christ in every face in this room? Can every face in this room see Christ in you? If you can answer yes to both questions, then you can rightfully say, I'm proud of my humility.